Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
James Edwards, Donald Trump, Rand Paul, Anthony Fauci, Congress members that are perverted and getting kicked out. It all starts on Liberty Roundtable Live. Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. I am Sam Bushman. I've got James Edwards with me, well known for race, politics, and hypocrisy in the 21st century. ThePoliticalCesspool.org is website and his award-winning broadcast every Saturday night live. You can listen to it live or on demand at ThePoliticalCesspool.org. Welcome back, sir.
Sam, I think I've got a play on your name, Sam Bushman. It is because you are so bright-eyed and bushy-tailed in the mornings. I don't.
Let's go, my brother.
I don't even see. You got to let me know what the elixir is out there in Utah, because when I wake up to do your show, now I do wake up early, but I still got like 2 and 3 dark bags under my eyes. You know, when we get started here on the weekdays, I'm a Saturday Night Live man there at 6 p.m. Central Time on Saturdays for me, and I got a little more pep in my step. But I tell you, Sam, I was thinking about you this morning. I had the most random memory, for completely no reason at all. Well,
yes,
now,
sir.
I could go in a lot of different directions when I'm talking about my history with you and yours with me, but for some reason, I don't know why it popped into my head, but about 30 minutes before showtime this morning, I was thinking about you mixing it up with I think the Telemundo people at the Republican National Convention when we were, I don't know why that came into my head, but I mean, so there we were with the full access and all access to the Republican National Convention, and that was 2016, and Sam, what I would say is we've done the things, and by that I mean the things that you would want to do in this business, and certainly we can do more, but it's been a heck of a ride. But I look back on that, and I look back on that week in particular, and it was a time filled with so much promise, and now here we are less than 100 days from the midterms of Trump's second term, and it just looks like it's all destined to just sort of go out with a whimper, the Trumpian era in a lot of ways.
You know what it reminds me of? You know how you get all excited with your kids, or when you were a little kid and it was the 4th of July and your family got fireworks and you're like, okay, we're going to light off the biggest, best one. This is going to be cool. And you light that dude and it just kind of fizzles and does nothing. And you go, oh.
Well, and
isn't that what it's kind of like, James?
I mean, for me, and I'm not going to say there haven't been some political victories over the course of the last 10 years, whether they be because of Trump or in spite of him or whatever. I mean, at some point the guy in the White House is going to get some credit, whether it's deserved or not.
And it is deserved in many ways, though. Let's be fair and honest. He doesn't deserve as much credit as he thinks he does. That's for sure. But he does deserve more credit than most presidents in our lifetime. Let's say that. It's
a hard thing to balance and assess in real time because everything is still so fluid because it's the book hasn't closed on it yet. But I think most people left the first term being a little bit disenchanted. And then when you came back, you're thinking, well, he's going to have learned a lot from that first term. He's going to stock his people with more loyalists. He's going to have learned how the game is played a little bit more. And then, he got in there and there was those flurry of executive orders. And I'm not saying that this has been a loss or that he hasn't been vastly superior to the alternative that was presented to us from the Democrats. But he had that, flurry of executive orders that were just so inspiring, Sam, that you and I put together a massive conference with elected officials, both past and present, all the way up to members of Parliament, the Senate, members of Congress, aspiring. Within about 3 months of him going into office in January of 25, and since then, I mean, it just this isn't. I'm just riffing here now, but it looks like, I mean, instead of mass deportations, we got 2 corporate tax cuts via budget reconciliation, AI deregulation, a war for Iran, cut Medicaid to pay for $1 trillion military budget, and
no, it's
we'll see where it goes.
$1.25 trillion now, buddy.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
The problem is that, this could turn into a bash Trump fest if we wanted it to. But I want to look at things a little bit more fairly. What you've got is a divided Democratic Party. You've got the whacked out, extreme, psychotic socialist side. And then you've got the, I don't know what you want to call them, the traditional Republicans. And that's a separate from the yellow dog or the old Republicans. So the old Republicans seem to be gone. Start over. Democrats. The old Democrats seem to be gone. The yesteryear Democrats of the South, many of them were very conservative. They were yellow dog Democrats. They were very conscientious of money. Those guys are gone. Now you got two factions. You got the whacked out Democrat socialist, crazies, the Mandamis, the AOCs, the, whatever, Nancy Pelosi's, the Maxine Waters, we can go on and on, right? Now they're even foreign nation loving, strange, elected people on that side, and they're crazy. Then you got the Democrats that are, they're modern day traditional Democrats. So they're very liberal, but they're not crazy, at least comparatively speaking, but they're not the old Democrats either. So that's what you got on the Democrat side. The Republican side, you got MAGA, which MAGA is starting to dissolve and become nothing. You got the Trump agenda. He still has a lot of control over the party, but you got a lot of people that are undermining Trump behind the scenes, primarily Congress. And so you've got a divide in the Republican Party. And so this midterm elections is looking very interesting. Michigan's kind of ground zero right now because they've got a primary. We're starting to see some very strange stuff out of that. But Democrats are starting to win in some big ways, James.
Well, and again, you want to talk
and
about
whacked
MAGA.
out extreme ones, right?
You talk about MAGA, yeah, exactly. Well, Mondami is Exhibit A. Of course, you've got this radical socialist who's now, one of the most important figures in the world as the mayor of New York City. But MAGA has seemed to be redefined as just the people who stroke Trump's ego more than any sort of ideological movement. I mean, because even at the dawn of the Trumpian era, we had our friend Steve King be hounded out of Congress. Now, that was before Trump got in there, but then you had, Senator Jeff Sessions and Rep. Mo Brooks in Alabama. I mean, they were tougher on immigration than anyone. They got thrown under the bus, and they've since been joined by Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene. And these were the people that were on board with the purported message of Trump, and it seems as like MAGA is now defined by people like Lindsey Graham, the late Lindsey Graham, and Mark Levin. I mean, that is not; those weren't the people that were championing the movement that got Trump in there. And so,
and what's that senator now, where we don't even know if he's dead or alive? He's,
Mitch McConnell.
What's that guy's name?
Who was always Mitch McConnell.
I mean, look, where is that guy? Do we even know really if he's alive?
We were talking about this 2 weeks ago when I was last on the show here. So nothing has changed. It is true.
What's the latest on Mitch McConnell? And the answer is his staff came out with something. They came out with a photo of him with a newspaper trying to make it like, that's what you do when you got a hostage. I mean, it's just very weird. And now I don't even know what on earth is the latest with him. Do we even have any update, any knowledge? How can this guy serve and be missing in action to the people for so long and nobody just absolutely lose their minds?
There's 100 senators in the world. I mean, these are the most powerful people in the world, other than the American president. And this guy was the dean of the Senate. I mean, this he's been the longest tenured senator on the Republican side, and you can't get any sort of verifiable proof of life. And then you've got these midterms coming up, and of course, they never favor the party in power. But now when you've got, again, Sam, this has been just such a recurring theme when I make these twice monthly appearances with you, going back to at least before last Christmas. The affordability crisis out there right now is just going to, I think, be really bad for the Republicans. And whatever gripes you can have, and again, we want to be fair, we want to be objective, we don't want to be emotional, but whatever gripes you may have with the Trump administration, and they've given us material there to have those things. There has, yes, still been a lot of good, but it's all going to be made so much worse as if the other side retakes power. And it's going to be made worse because I think Trump, again, catered more to the people who would just sort of fall in line with his cult of personality rather than anything really ideologically based. And he's not leaving a bench in Congress. And by that I mean he's not leaving people who share the ideas that propelled his campaigns. And of course we understand that there's a difference between the things you campaign on and the things you actually make happen
promote,
when you're in office.
Advocate for, sure.
But I don't see a lot of people that are in Congress that are running on the Trump platform.
Well, and the debate now is who's going to carry the ball after Trump. It's a debate between Rubio and J.D. Vance. Neither of them really see MAGA to me. Neither of them were really Trump supporters in the beginning either. They've kind of come over, I would more say, due to political wins and necessity rather than a desire to back the principles Trump espoused in the beginning. But listen, Mitch McConnell has been missing since June 14th, folks. He's missing vote after vote after vote. There's no announced date for his return. No one knows where he's at. No one's seen him. We don't even know if he's alive. There's limited information from his office. Now, here's the problem. You speculate and say, is he alive or not? And then they say we're a wacko for asking that, for wondering that. McConnell has also already announced that he will not seek re-election when his term ends in January 2027. So the short answer, he's alive, they say. He's still a U.S. senator. He's going under rehabilitation still, and no firm date has been announced. But I want to know this. How do we know if we're being told the truth? We don't have independent confirmation of Mitch McConnell's present condition at all. What we know is that the office says he's alive and says he's recovering. His office released a photograph in July and a statement attributed to him. But analysis found evidence that the photograph was recent because it had a newspaper article in it. But that's not the same as his appearing live. Even a phone call into a radio show, a TV show, or something where, hey guys, I'm in my hospital bed, I'm doing all right, I just whatever. As of August 5th, today, we don't have any live public appearance, live interview, any votes, any direct appearance by McConnell since his June hospitalization. So we can't say that he's really alive and doing well. Now, I say anything about that, and they'll go, you're a whacked out conspiracy theorist, Sam. How dare you speculate like that? How dare you? And I'm saying, how dare them literally have a guy since June 16th. It's a month and a half, folks. And we have no idea. He's missing votes left and right. Flat out, whether he's healthy or not, I'm not here to attack him when he's down. But I am here to say you can't just disappear from work for 6 weeks without an explanation, without any kind of solid reality check in anywhere, in any job, except for government. Do you want to respond to this, James?
Well, you actually stole what was in my mind. You couldn't do that for any job, no matter how little responsibility that job may entail, much less a United States senator. And the thing is, I mean, we're not talking about some cartoon level villain, some dictator of a breakaway nation where if his death is proven, it's going to cause mass upheaval. I mean, they already have the template here. We saw it with Lindsey Graham. I mean, just put in his sister to run and cast the votes that the donors want. I mean, how hard could it be? All these people do what they're told anyway. Mitch McConnell's certainly not special in that regard. It really does make no sense. It makes no sense. If he's incapacitated, you put another rube in there to cast the vote you want.
And here's my question, though.
Him.
If he's really, like they say, he's recovering, he's doing well, he's fine, why don't we have a date when he'll be back, number one? Number two, if he's really doing fine and well, and even if we don't have a date because the doctors can't say, then why doesn't he at least appear somewhere? I mean, go on camera. You can, I mean, if he's in a hospital room, everybody knows that's okay.
Hey,
why
you know
can't
what Sonny
he still
Landham used to do?
Why can't he still work out a way to vote by proxy or do something special or at least appear somewhere so that we know he's happening? Here's my fear. My fear is whatever's happened to him, he's unable to communicate properly, and that's the real core problem. And you can say that's speculation, and I would just simply respond back very bluntly, boldly, nobly, and independently and say, prove it.
Well, and that's another thing, Sam. You brought up another great point with this, and that is, I guess, first of all, this proof of life picture that they showed last month, I mean, it showed him setting up. He was well-dressed. It looked like he was in a hospital room, but he had a newspaper. He was smiling, had a thumbs up. I mean, it wasn't like he was laying in bed and it looked a little touch and go, but yeah, he was still alive.
Yeah, but don't do a picture like that. Show me a video if that's true. Let's have a video and have him interact real time and talk then.
Well, you remember our good friend, the late Sonny Landham, the movie actor with a lot of action movies back in the 80s. Predator, of course. He was the Indian Tracker in 48 Hours and a lot of other movies. But he was a great friend of the network.
Appeared on the political cesspool.
made
many
a lot of
times.
appearances on TPC. He was at our kickoff party in 2004. I was in his dressing room for one of his weddings anyway. But he was just a great guy. He was literally in a hospital bed, about to be wheeled off into surgery. But we had an appointment, and he had a accident. And anyway, I didn't get the note that he was in the hospital, so we called him at the appointed time. They're about to wheel him
He
off
got
for
her
surgery.
done.
He waved them off live on the air and said, "Wait a minute, I forgot I got to be on the political cesspool. You're going to have to wait about 10 minutes or something." That was live on the air. We still got that in the archive.
What a rock star. What a good guy. So this is what I'm talking about, though. What is up with this, though? And my problem is we're not being dealt with honestly. Now, here's my other problem. Why is Rand Paul sitting back and doing nothing? So it seems to me that if you're fellow senators and you work together, you're 2 out of the 100 senators from your own same state. Rand Paul could say, hey, I know there's crazy speculation out there, Mitch. We haven't agreed on everything over the years. You know that. We're differing on a lot of things. But, we are friends. And I'm going to walk in and we're just going to do a little video. Hey, it's Rand Paul and Senator Mitch. And we're going to, how you doing, buddy? Hey, I'm doing fine. I'm recovering okay. And hey, how come we don't have a little thing like that or a little news blip? How come we don't have anything at all? And it's not really being talked about very much by people. A little bit, but not much, right?
Not nearly as much as you would think, and I will give you the radio equivalent of that. If Sam Bushman had gone off the grid. Now, Sam is the hardest working man in show business. I've consistently called him that for years, so sometimes it may take a day or two, but if Sam had gone off the grid, I call Lou Moore, who's also on our network, and that is Ron Paul's former campaign manager and chief of staff in D.C.
Say, Lou, go knock on Sam's door.
Yeah, I say, Lou, you need to get in the car in Temp View and drive from Temp View to American Fork, and let's go check on our boy. And so
it's about 11 miles or something. It'd be to my house in 20 minutes or less.
Because how many days are they working in D.C. between now and the midterms? Like another week over the course of the next 100
they've already
days?
taken the House took off like in late July, and they're gone till the end of August. They're already gone, buddy.
So
that's
Rand
why
can
the
drive
Senate.
on down
Hold on, that's why the Senate passed the continuing resolution to fund everything through December or some number before Christmas. But they already, and now the Senate has their version, but they can't reconcile because they're gone. So they can't even. They didn't vote on the same bill, and so nothing's happening. It's all stalled. Mike Johnson's on vacation again.
It's good work if you can get it. Power, money, influence, prestige, and you don't have to.
No, man, I feel like, look, if I don't deliver for my bosses. Now, I don't count hours to the penny sometimes because I work so hard and my job is flexible where I work at night, and whenever something breaks, I go to work until it's fixed and stuff. But if I didn't really work hard for my pay, I'd feel dishonest. I think these people should feel dishonest before the American people, saying you're sitting around and we're paying you good money, a couple $100,000 a piece, plus benefits through the wazoo. Well, anyway, I think we need to know what's going on with this clown. And I'm not trying to be rude to Mitch when he's down. All I'm telling you is he owes us, we the people, and the people of Kentucky especially, he owes them an answer. A clear, guys, I'm here, I'm alive, I'm coming back, and either I have a date or I'm going to talk to Mike Johnson about having a way that I can vote for my hospital bed because my mind is fine. Prove all that to us, and we'll give you some grace. But until then, I feel like you're creating a hostile Stonewall, and that's not cool at all. He doesn't care because he's lame ducked already because he's not running again. But I'm just saying somebody needs to be bold. Where's Mike Johnson? How come no one's doing anything about this whatsoever? It just baffles me. Anyway, we've talked about it enough, but I'm just telling you, no one else is really talking about it either. Now, AOC has risen through the ranks quickly. Bartender to president is the headline. 2028, J.D. Vance says that's going to be his opponent. James?
She would be tougher to beat than Kamala because she's younger, she's more attractive, she's more vivacious. I mean, I'm not saying there's any there.
And she's not super articulate, but compared to Kamala, she's articulate too.
I'm not saying that she's, the top dresser drawer that you would think, George Washington on this hand and AOC on the other.
But it's a relative discussion, James.
But I mean,
you're going to have Maxine Waters and Kamala Harris, or you're going to have AOC, see?
As far as
a relative
today,
discussion.
And with, I think, a lot of the disappointment that Trump will have left with his more recalcitrant portion of the base. There's an opening for her there. I think J.D. Vance will probably be a decent candidate if they go that way, and could be compelling and maybe get some of these people who have been disenchanted over the last 2 years maybe back on board. But there's going to be a lot of fool me once, fool me twice, fool me thrice, and then I don't think that anybody that we know would vote for AOC, but they may very well set out, and you had some of that in the 2020 election, I think. But I think, I hate to say it, I think she would probably be more formidable than Kamala, certainly. And
she
I
says that you, as a
whole
conservative
Biden
man,
victory.
and all the conservative men, you're just infatuated with her. You're in love with her, James.
Well, listen, I mean, we won't say in love. I mean, but we can say, you know what, as far as Democratic women go, she does look better. And looks matter in politics, let's just face it.
Yes,
now,
they do.
a woman has never broken through. That's always been true for a man.
That's why Sam Bushman can never run for politics. You see what I'm saying?
Not true, Sam.
You got to be tall and bald like James if you want to get anywhere.
I think you could win something in Utah.
No. That'd say I'm way too conservative. It'd never fly. But the Republicans are in trouble, James, for a bunch of reasons. One, MAGA hasn't turned out to be what people had hoped. Trump has been very disappointing. We're in the middle of a serious war, and there's no end in sight. We've spent ourselves into oblivion. Congress hasn't cut really any money. Doge didn't deliver. I mean, it talked a lot and delivered a lot of, make you frustrated, make you angry stuff, but not real cuts. They're passing spending bills like you wouldn't believe. We're not receiving tax breaks. The economy's in the toilet. And now they call it a financial retreat. I don't know if you know who Ronald Lauder is, but Ronald Lauder pauses political donations amid family business turmoil and personal reevaluations. Do you know who this guy is?
I do not, but if the billionaire class or multimillionaire class
yes, he is
clamping down on the spigot, then something must be going
Ronald
on. Ronald
S. Lauder. This guy is a billionaire cosmetics man.
Estee Lauder. It's the Estee Lauder guy. Yeah. Okay.
That's right. Well, anyway, he's in New York, and he's one of the most influential Republican benefactors. He's yanked his money. He's going to spend money on the arts and his philanthropy. He's backing away from politics. He wants no part of it. What's that going to do to the Republicans midterm or 2028? I'm Sam Bushman. Stay there. Hard-hitting news the network refuses to use continues with our dear brother, James Edwards, thepoliticalcesspool.org. You can find me on libertyroundtable.com or live on Rumble and YouTube and Truth Social and just about everywhere. Spread the word, share the love, and God save our constitutional republic. Happy to have you along. James Edwards, thepoliticalcesspool.org. Still with me, Ronald S. Lauder, the billionaire cosmetics heir, and one of New York's most influential Republican benefactors, has pivoted. He's simply stopped all funding. It's going to change the landscape in New York. Republicans are panicking. What a blow before midterms, James.
Yeah, I think no matter how much money you have, you don't want to set it on fire. And I was optimistic even in the midterms of 2018. I thought Trump would be reelected in 20, and who knows, maybe he was. But nevertheless, that I do believe you're going to see a wipeout in November. And so even the billionaire class.
What's that sound they used to have on there? There's a wipeout.
Yeah. That's a good song.
That's what we're going to basically have. Here's the next headline that I find interesting. Usually the mainstream press on the conservative side. So, Rush Limbaugh declared himself a water boy for the Republican Party, for instance. Sean Hannity, basically replacement thereof. I know other people say they replaced Rush, but I think Sean Hannity is really the Rush replacement because he's so mainstream, so standard, so whatever. But this is interesting. Headline says, clock ticking for Trump. Dave Rubin went on Sean Hannity and says, hey, the clock's ticking for Trump, just 3 months left. And the GOP will probably lose the midterms. And then Sean Hannity concurred with Rubin's perspective on the critical time frame and said, hey, you know what? You better deliver on the promises. You've got about 3 months to deliver on the promises or you're cooked. And literally Dave Rubin and Sean Hannity both agreed with that reality. If that's not a clear mainstream Republican leadership, you use money or lose money from Lauder, and then you basically go ahead and have these two guys, Dave Rubin and Sean Hannity, saying it. I don't know why Trump's not listening. Trump could do so many things that could lift the mood for MAGA or for Republicans. He could, 1, abolish the IRS. 2, audit Fort Knox, roll in there with headlamps and such. He could, 3, abolish, like I said, the IRS. He hasn't even gotten rid of the education department. Number 4, what he could do is this. They shot down his $1.8 billion going to hand out to the January 6th people and other people that have been harmed by the government. You'd be one of them because they've besmirched your character in the courts and lied about who you are. You'd get some cash for that, James. But the bottom line is that failed. And now you've got this guy trying to become the confirmed attorney general who's rejected that now. He shut down that fund. But Trump could do it on his own. He's already made $2 billion in office in just the last year, from what I understand, from his media companies and from his cryptocurrencies and all this kind of stuff. Why doesn't Trump just start handing out money to people? You know what? I'm going to give $100,000, for example, each to the patriots that were at January 6th that were abused. We never got any answers on January 6th like we were promised. We never found out the government side. We never released the 40,000 hours of video. Nothing happened. But Trump could, with his own pocket, could just do that. And if you say, well, no, the president can't give money to people. Okay, fine, have Don Jr. do it or have whatever. I mean, don't tell me it can't get done. And so I look at this and I just go, Donald could do so many different things. He promised to get rid of gun-free zones first day. He could take advantage of this Idaho shooting where you had this great citizen come to the table and this great off-duty officer and drive the shooter away and save dozens of lives. So you could say, hey, because this wasn't a gun-free zone, we saved lives. I'm going to get rid of gun-free zones like he promised. Any one of those key things that are tiny but significant, Trump could do, and we could start to change the game and build some momentum. But he's not giving us anything to grab onto, James. Nothing.
It's going to be very hard to do anything now with Congress out to lunch for the rest of the year.
What if you just did what I said? What if you just started giving out cash of your own $2 billion you got from being the president and promoting crypto and everything else? He's got plenty of money. He could do it philanthropy style outside of government. He doesn't need government to do it.
Well, it would take something like that. Now, that would be the one thing that would speak to people. If you can speak to their pocketbook at this time of utter hardship.
It's the economy, stupid, right?
James Carville was right about that.
Yes, he was.
That was true then, and it is still true, at least for most voters. Most voters are voting on what helps them the most at home, not on grand civilizationally themed issues. But it would take something which he can't unilaterally do anyway. It would take something as big.
Yeah, he could abolish gun-free zones first day. Just do an executive order and abolish gun-free zones. And you could use this example in Idaho to make the point.
The IRS, it would take something. I don't even think that would be big enough, Sam. I mean, here we are. I mean, it would take something like abolishing the IRS, in my opinion, to like really get people back at this late date. Here we are now in August, and most of the good that Trump has done was done within the first few days of the second administration.
And most of it's been shut down and overturned. Just take tariffs, for example, or they've already refunded billions of dollars. The courts have gone against him, and most of what he's even done has been overturned and shut down and bogged down. And in the courts, we've impeached nobody either.
That's right. That's right. But, a lot of the executive orders, certainly freeing the J6 hostages, that was all done. That was a very good thing, and he deserves eternal credit for that.
Amen.
But that was all within the first few days of him reassuming office. And basically all of this year. Even, actually, I did a huge feature for the American Free Press around Christmas of last year. So that was the first year. A recap, we had about 24 contributors from all around the world assessing Trump. And even as late as last Christmas or the first week of this year, which is when that particular issue went to press,
people still had hope.
Still getting between, I think internationally, he ranked at like a 6.4 out of 10. And then domestically, it was like a 7.2 out of 10, for the people who responded from the United States that we were polling. And that was, again, the last week of last year. This whole year has been nothing but Iran. And keep in mind that in addition to closing the borders, which was issue 1A for Trump in 16 and in 20 and 24, frankly, staying out of these foreign entanglements and having a more Washingtonian foreign policy was issue 1B. And he has totally been, he's done more than George Bush and John McCain. They couldn't even get in Iran.
It makes you wonder what Netanyahu has over the Donald, right?
And people are looking at that. So the Iran debacle coupled with just the absolute inaffordability of life is just not. I don't think there's any rabbit at this, because I kept thinking, okay, well, maybe he's going to do something for Netanyahu just to get him off his back or something, because he did do that one little limited bombing last year, and then they kind of vamped out, but this year has just been all in, and it's been on again. The rhetoric has been on again, off again, but and
I mentioned this yesterday, James, and I want to get your take on this too. So now they claim there's talks happening, but Trump has been dismissed from the talks. So what you've got now is the leader of the free world who's going, yeah, they're talking about it, but he's not there. And if that's not a big slap in the face and a huge win for Iran, I don't know what is.
This whole thing is just such a joke. Every time, and again, I still am more favorable towards Trump. Let me be clear. Even though I'm expressing some grievances here, I'm still more. If you say favorable or disfavorable, gun to your head, I'm more favorable than disfavorable.
Do it this way: if you had to grade Donald Trump, let's say he was in your class or something, whatever, and you were to grade Donald, what grade would you give him? Now, yesterday we asked a guy this, and he said, "Can I grade the two terms separately, or the two stints separately, 45 versus 47, or do I have to grade it as one?" You can grade it separate or as one, whatever you want.
Overall, D+. I mean, I would give him a passing grade, but I mean, this Iran thing is an anchor and an albatross, and then this whole thing with coming to the table, these ceasefires. There's been so many I mean, I had on a government contractor who's worked in Iran. He's really one of the most intelligent people and informed people on Iran that anybody could have on any program, up to and including Fox News and the Today Show, any of the Sunday morning talk shows. And we were talking about the memorandum of understanding. It looked like peace was at hand. There have been so many of these ceasefires and tentative peace deals. And then Trump, we have not been at war, but at the same time, we've won the war about 15 times by now. And then, peace on again.
Well, that's the problem. You got a credibility crisis when you say, hey, we've taken out all their capabilities, and now they're basically cranking up their efforts and stuff. It's really hard to claim that we've taken them all out. If we've really taken them all out, like he says, isn't it over by now? Well, no, it's actually cranking up. They're getting some backing from funding, and now they say China might be giving them some missiles.
I've wondered why China and Russia haven't been a little more involved on Iran's side, because they are.
I think they have. They're just not making it public in your face, and the American news doesn't report. So there you go.
One thing that has been a trend is, and it's become a global joke. Everybody sees through this. At this point, anytime I hear any talk about a ceasefire, them coming back to the table, I understand that to mean is that America's run out of bombs for a minute, and they've got to reload their ordnance. And I mean, every time it comes to one of these talks, you have a new round of bombing that immediately follows.
It's tragedy.
So,
And it's going to go on, and we can talk about it till the cows come home. What I want to do is pivot to some domestic issues. Today was supposed to be the vote on Fauci. Well, the sad part is they've delayed the vote now. Headline says this: Fauci contempt vote rescheduled for tomorrow. Now, the only reason you do that is if you don't think that it'll pass and you want a little more time to, I don't know, twist some arms, make some, I don't know. But that's a serious, serious issue. Why is it being delayed till tomorrow? Now, here's the interesting thing. It's an urgent alert, the Senate to decide on Fauci's role in alleged health crisis and population control scheme, writes our dear friends over at Liberty Counsel, Matt Staver. The Senate is set to vote on a resolution. Now, it's just a resolution, whatever that means, seeking to hold Dr. Anthony Fauci accountable for an orchestrated, harmful health efforts causing increased miscarriages and abortions for women. And when I say abortions, I just mean that their body naturally aborts the baby. In a controversial stance, Liberty Counsel claims Fauci's COVID-19 vaccination has not only caused fatalities, but intentionally interfered with women's health and their ability to carry babies. With potential criminal charges on the line, the Senate vote has significant implications, escalating tensions around public health. This is a big deal, and they say that millions of people worldwide were killed by this, and Fauci's primarily responsible. Even Fauci had, according to his own diary, some kind of a health negative effect after he took the vax, and so this is becoming very serious. I don't think that there's a prayer that Fauci will be held accountable. I appreciate Rand Paul's efforts, and I pray that he's successful, but I don't see it. Now, there's a lot of discussions on the line. One, if you plead the fifth, can you do that after you got a pardon? Because when you get a pardon, then you remove your right to plead the fifth. So some attorneys say, others say that won't hold water. And he basically he pled the fifth 111 times. What do you think about all this, James? What do you think is going to happen?
A lot of things. Going back originally, if people can, and I know a lot of us have tried to forget this dystopian era, the COVID era of 2020 through whatever, whenever it ended, and it ended in some states sooner than others, and in some states it didn't really ever take off at all, practically speaking. But even in, this goes back to Trump's first term, and Trump would do these press conferences with Fauci. And even then, he was really trying to play
daily
both sides.
for a while.
He was trying to play both sides even then, Trump was. But, of course, Fauci is a global villain, in my opinion. And this whole hearing that he had was just a farce. I mean, pleading the fifth to absolutely everything, which I'm sure that they knew he was going to do before he arrived. But and Tom Cotton, I believe it was, who was questioning him, did bring up the issue about the pardon, that you can't plead the fifth if you've already been pardoned or received a pardon. But this whole thing, what color is your tie? And he pled the fifth. What color is the carpet? He pleads the fifth. If past is prologue, Sam, there will be no punishment whatsoever for Fauci. And this is another thing that I think people are seeing with Trump, is that no heads have rolled, politically speaking or legally speaking. The people who were his biggest enemies, he hasn't made an example out of them. And that goes, I think that cuts straight to the credibility that, frankly, the president and his administration are facing going into these midterms. Well, why would we vote for you? What have you delivered? How have the people who are who literally resulted in the deaths of untold millions of people in this case, but are otherwise ruining civilization at large? Who's been held accountable? Who's been put into prison? Not one. And Trump promised prison sentence. Everybody promises things that they can't really deliver.
Yeah, and we've never really got all the facts, though. So they released his diary. Rand Paul did it. And then all of a sudden it got yanked off and they replaced it with a redacted version. So now we can't even really find out or drill him about or find out, what happened to Fauci after he even took the vaccines. If you want to make a poignant point, let's know what happened to him after he took it. And as far as I understand, he had a adverse reaction too. What that is the problem. Some people say he had a heart attack. We don't really know because it got yanked off so quick we can't compare the details of what he wrote versus, there's no accountability is the problem.
No. And there won't be. And as you say, I think it would be the smartest bet at all. There's this website called Polymarket. I'm not recommending it, but you can basically bet on anything in the world. I mean, you can bet on any outcome. You can bet on, which way a leaf from the tree is going to fall. And they take bets on everything. They take all kinds of action. If there's any sort of betting on whether or not Fauci will go to prison, I mean, you can bet your house on that.
I'm going to bet it nothing happens. I know that, a lot of attorneys are saying, hey, he can't plead the fifth. He gave away that right when he signed the pardon deal, and others are saying this and that, but I'm convinced he's in the class that's protected. I mean, I think that he just is. And I wish it wasn't so. And we thought it would be different under President Trump, and this is my example. President Trump's just going, oh, yeah, Fauci was a bad guy. I warned Biden, is all Trump's saying.
Yeah. No, I mean, Fauci's in the clear. I don't even, and he's so in the clear, and it's so not even up for debate. You wonder why they even had the kabuki theater of trying to have this hearing.
Because it raises a lot of money for Rand Paul, that's why.
That ultimately, I mean, and maybe Rand Paul thinks that there's a 1% chance that this could break in a just way, but it's just I don't even know if he believes that.
I wish it would. Don't get me wrong, ladies and gentlemen. I believe we need full-blown Nuremberg-style trials on this thing. They literally murdered people around the world by the millions with this COVID con, with this Fauci facade, with this clot shot, with this kill jab, whatever you want to call the thing. I mean, it's disaster. We never really got to the bottom of it. I mean, you'd say it was leaked from a lab. Was it intentionally leaked by the communist Chinese? See, I believe the answer to that's yes. That's just my opinion. But at the same time, it's no different than anybody else's information. We don't have any facts on this thing. No one dug in and got any facts at all. Right?
I still remember being in a bowling alley when they canceled the NCAA men's national basketball tournament, the March Madness, and that's when I knew that they were really that something was really weird about this whole thing. And then you had this whole global minstrel show, basically, where people were pretending, and then it just goes to show the mass psychosis and how people can be cowed by media and by governments, and you just had the vast majority of people at least taking some of these shots, and it was just, that was something that the world will never forget. And still, I mean, and it's gone now.
And that's the thing, is until we the people demand accountability, and I use this Mitch McConnell thing to make my point. If they don't care if their senator's just missing in action and no one knows the truth, and no one's going to demand answers from the campaign or the whatever you want to call it, his congressional office or whatever, his Senate office or whatever, that, and no one's going to care about the Fauci accountability. No one's going to care about the J6 people that were wronged. I mean, we were promised 40,000 hours of video. We never really got any of that. We just released a couple of things through Tucker Carlson, and a couple of people were allowed to get on a government computer and look a little bit, but no real release of any kind where people could really dig through it and find out what was fake, what was real. No real charges against government or accountability to lay out that side like they promised. No looking into the, what's in Fort Knox kind of discussions. But I want to switch gears for the final little segment really quick, James, to make an interesting point. In America, listen to this headline: one modern combo meal in 1964 terms, James.
Don't get me started.
Do you want to go over this? Do you have this handy?
I do.
Highlight this. This is interesting.
Handy's relative. Let me pull it back up here. So I got the pizza prices. Okay, here it is. I got it right here.
One modern combo meal. Listen to this.
In 1964 terms, it's 5 burgers, 3 fries, and 5 Cokes. So portion inflation.
So that's the deal. So if you take 1964 numbers, just so you know, an average Coke in 1964, they came out in the 60s with a 12-ounce can of Coke. But your traditional bottles of Coke were 6.5 ounces. And nowadays, people roll in and get a large and get a quart of Coke or whatever. It's like 5 Cokes, right? And if you have a hamburger back in the day, they were 15 cents for a hamburger, but they were about a tenth of a pound hamburger. And so we get, quarter pound, half pound, third pound burgers. So that's why it's 5 burgers. When it comes to fries, their regular fry was like a small fry. And so when you kind of pair it up with, then that would be your order, James. If you did modern time and got like a large fry and a large drink and a typical hamburger of modern time, big hamburger, that's what you would be looking at.
Well, maybe that would explain why there's such a epidemic of obesity in this country. But the only other thing that's fattened up more than the portions is the price. I mean, what are we at now? Like 500 times the 15-cent price for a combo. 100 times more. It's $15 for a combo now.
So you supersize me, James. That's all.
Supersize the price and the portions. Everybody's unhealthy and broke. That is a docile population.
And I bring that up, though, because I want people to understand the expectations are so different than they used to be. And I guess we're just going to order that big meal, and we're just going to say we don't care what Fauci does. We don't care that the J6ers were abused. We don't care what Mitch McConnell's doing. We just don't care because we're just disenfranchised to the point where we don't care anymore, James. Don't care.
You'll order that big meal if you can afford it. And again, even going to fast food now. I mean, people are going to fast food and financing their Happy Meal on Klarna. You can make these installment payments. If the Democrats harness that, you better watch out. If they can harness this this economic crisis by making promises and and they're good at that. They're good at promising all this free stuff that they can
Well, Mondami's already given out groceries at discounts and everything else at taxpayers' expense, right?
I'd like to see the long-term effects on how that's going to work out for New York.
They're working on a universal basic income, James. How would you like to just sit around and?
I'd love to. I'd like to see how that works. But listen, if that actually would work, do you think anybody's going to vote against that? We understand that it can't work and why it can't work. But if they can get people to believe that, you think anybody?
That's right.
You know how stupid people are in this country? Just have no knowledge or awareness about history or about anything, really. I mean, the standard of educational excellence in this country has fallen precipitously for decades and generations. You think that if you can't get some slick-talking politician like Mondami or AOC to say, you know what, if you vote for us, you're going to get a universal basic income. This is what's coming from the Democratic Party. People would vote for that just on the hope of it, and especially when they're suffering so much out there. And whether it was the Republicans' fault or the Democrats' fault or just the way of the world, the buck stops with the party in power when you're being pinched. And, right now, unfortunately for Trump, that's his side. Or unfortunately for the Republicans, that's their side.
Yeah, unless it's all by design. I think they kind of share power, and they're like, okay, it's your turn.
That's another topic, but touche.
There you have it, ladies. James, why don't you close us out today, buddy?
Well, Sam, I love you. I'm so thankful for all the years we've been together, and I'm looking forward to many more. Do support the work of independent journalism and media. We have to have our own media outlets, and I can't think of a better one than the Liberty News Radio Network and LibertyRoundtable.com, LibertyNewsRadio.com. You'll get a good return on your investment, I can tell you that. Thank you, Sam.
ThePoliticalCesspool.org, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sam Bushman with James Edwards. God save our constitutional republic.
There's a penalty for truth, but it's worth it when you try. Yeah, it's worth it when you try.